How can we make use of this beautiful gift of breathing for us to achieve a type of awareness and alignment both inside and outside, which is lighter, organic, and more natural? And not us being too busy focusing on the external structure or following a specific external alignment principle for us to achieve, I would say, for example, better postural alignment. Because a specific structural principle may work for me, but may not work for the person sitting next to me. To make it more complex, actually, aside from our differences structurally, we hold too many blockages inside the body. Thus, if we force that person to follow a specific principle alignment, we might even cause more harm than good. The intention is good, but the effect is, I would say, heavy for that particular person. But this energy I'm talking about, it's present all around us, but when it enters the body, it becomes the breath. Right? It transforms into this beautiful manifestation of breathing, and we can actually feel it when we breathe through it. Right? And then when we're able to understand how it flows inside the body, when we breathe through it, the body follows. So we move lighter. We suit our own structural nature. Yeah. Inside it feels the same, but externally it will look different from person to person. All right. This is quite a complex topic, because for me to be able to discuss it from the ground up, because actually it starts from the foundation all the way up, will require us to have really long discussion lesson. But for today, let me just share with you 3 points, and they are all related to our hips, the spine. All right. And how, when the breath flows through this point, will organically manifest externally. Thus, there will be some external manifestations, but they are not, all right, the origin of the action. The external manifestations are actually just the expression of the breath as it flows inside the body. All right. Let me just start first by saying that this breath, this energy, as it flows inside the body through the breath, moves upwards in concentric sequence, meaning circular. Not really perfectly circle, but somehow it sways. It's like a spiral, actually, as it flows upwards. And inside the body, as it makes its way up, it forms like opposing loops. So inward loop, external loop, it pulls in, it pulls out, like gears inside the body. All right. And in the hips, there are actually like 2 loops happening in the hips as this energy makes its way up. All right. Number 1 is the origin of the thigh bones. So the heat of the thigh bones, as you breathe that energy up, actually, because you're drawing that energy up, with the breath rising up, the head of the thigh bones, or the whole of your lower limbs, especially the top, will turn inward. Thus, when your teacher says, slide your thighs back a bit when you're doing a forward bend like this, right? Normally the teacher would say, slide your thigh bones back, roll the legs inward. Actually, it's just like the manifestation of the energy coiling inward. So when you are standing in the Tadasana, for example, actually it would start from the feet. From the feet it goes inward and not like here. But let me just zero in on the head of the thigh bones. In the head of the thigh bones, our energy coils inward. Yeah, that's why in the Tadasana, the teacher would normally tell you, allow the heels to lightly separate. All right, now as you inhale, your thigh bones roll inward. All right, and then the byproduct of that one, the lower part of the backs and the hips will broaden, yeah, because the head of the thigh bones roll inward, thus the space go broad and wide to make room for the sacrum to open. All right, but it's not the external structure doing it for the sake of achieving such external manifestation. It's the breath actually. So as you breathe in, so you make the breath rising up. Thus, it will ripple and effect that the head of the thigh bones will turn inward a bit. Thus, you open the back side of the hips. Now, as it makes its way up actually, around the fronts of the hips, right at the pubic bone, it coils externally. So from the head of the thigh bones, it wraps in, higher up, it opens wide. Thus, this instruction or principle of lightly scooping the tailbone. But you don't do it in a way that you scoop the tailbone forcibly for you to achieve such alignment. It's really the breath doing that work. So it's something that's organic. You don't force it. Actually, you just have to breathe it. You don't have to actually think about it. But for the sake of study, this tutorial will help you understand where all the externality of the practice really comes from. All right. So as the energy rises up, the top part of the pelvis, it broadens. Thus, the fronts of the hips broaden. Like the pubic bone here, this one goes wide. Yes, good. To make room for the rest of your lower back to open. Right. So from the head of the thigh bone, it coils inward. Higher up, it broadens externally. Thus, this part of the hips will broaden wide. As the lower part of the hips wrap inward, as you breathe in, this one, the space, the fronts of the hips, the pubic bone, will rise up and then broaden apart. Thus, when your teacher instruct you to, for example, open the edges of the outer thighs apart, that's actually the reason why your teacher instruct you to do that adjustment. Because as the energy flows up, it wraps outward. All right. Now, above the bony part of the hips, since the energy forms like gears inside, it coils inward again. All right. Thus, when the teacher tells you, belly button to spine, slide your lower belly in towards the back of your body, that's what your teacher means. Because the energy, as it flows up, it coils inward again. So it wraps towards, it's hugging. But you don't squeeze it. So when you breathe in, this one goes thin and hollow, because here, from the sides of the trunk, it coils inward again. Because that's actually your organic brace, but you don't squeeze it. It's really natural. When you inhale, the energy coils inward. And in energetic terms, that's actually your organic core support activating already through the breath. But you don't tighten the belly, you don't squeeze the belly. It's more of you organically hugging everything to the center. Now, higher up, and that inward action actually would end right at the bottom ribs. I normally express this in the classes like the bottom ribs hug inward. So hug the bottom ribs inward. Now, above the two big ribs, actually, the breath opens externally again. All right. Now, thus, this is very important in understanding the alignment of our upper back and shoulders. All right. So since we know now that from the big breaths up, the breath gears outward again. Thus the manifestation of the collarbones go broad and wide, the shoulders will go broad and wide, and they will organically suspend to the back. But you don't pull them down for the sake of achieving this alignment. Right, now you're getting my point now. It has to come from the inside. So when we breathe the energy right up to the chest, it manifests like an external loop out to the collarbones. So naturally the collarbones will go broad and the shoulders will hang and lightly suspend behind you. But you don't push them down, you don't pull them down, you don't muscle them down. Because if you do that, it actually prevents the spine from enjoying that freedom. Yes, it has to be light, it has to be organic. That's this manifestation. Right? But it actually doesn't stop there. Right? The final loop of this energy, or the final point where this energy appears its way up, actually is here. The head of, or the tops of the spine, really the tip of the spine, all right, in here, where the base of the skull is located. That point that connects the base of the skull and the tip of your spine. And then sitting there actually is the seat of the soul, or the pineal gland, the seat of primal energy. It's actually the final destination of the energy. And then from there, it will make its way up to the nervous system and then back up to the source. And the pattern of the energy, or the breath, as it makes its way up there, is actually like a hook. All right? And the hook is not folding inward, neither extending upward. It's more of a vertical extension. So from the hollow of the throat here, right? The last one was the collarbones go broad and the energy opens the fronts of the body. Now the final is actually from the hollow of the throat, it coils back and up here, all the way to that point, the tip of the spine. Thus, all right, to finish the process, from here, it doesn't stop here. As you hook that breath back and up to the backs of the neck and all the way to the base of the skull, somehow it coils inward again, it loops inward again, but you don't collapse it. Thus, the external manifestation will be the shoulders will actually go higher, like it hangs and suspends. Shoulders, like the shoulders hang, and they will naturally ascend up, like they're hanging. Right. Thus, in meditation, right, when you're sitting in a meditation, for example, like this. Right. For example, you're doing your meditation or the Mahamudra. Right. The teacher will instruct you lightly lift the head of the arm bones up to the ears. Yeah, that's actually the principle behind this. Because as the energy makes its way up to the pineal gland, definitely the whole of your external structure will have to go with that inherent flow of the energy. But you don't clip the throat, you don't squeeze the throat, and you don't compress and then make your body rigid. It's very light and organic. So when you breathe this energy as you flow through your elements, you have to make your breath not really forcibly long, but really light and open. And then you allow it to pass through those points I've mentioned. Right? The base of the hips, the chest area, all the way the root of, or the tops of the spine, leading all the way up to the crown and then back up. Alright, so from the outer peripheries, the energy wraps inward. It broadens the fronts of the pelvis. It wraps back in. And then it opens and widens the chest, across the collarbones, and it hooks up to the backs of the throat and up to the tip of the spine, and then back up. Yeah. Breathing in and breathing out. Inhale and you exhale. Yeah. So, or even the Bhujangasana, or the position of the cobra, or even the Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, or the upward facing dog, they're really good positions or asanas for us to feel this manifestation, expression of the energy as we breathe through it. Alright, now, lying flat on our tummies. Right? So, since we now know that from the outer edges of the hips, that energy goes inward all the way to the origin of the thigh bones, thus, the tail will likely have to open and then tilt back. Why? That's very important, because that will create that initial space, because you want to open your spine through the whole length of your spine, from the origin, which is here. So the tail would have to slide up a bit to make room for the low back to truly open. All right. And then, since we know now that the fronts of the pelvis would have to go wide, right? Thus, we likely press the fronts of the hips down and then make some adjustment gently forward. So the fronts of the hips broaden, and that will neutralize the sacral region. So you don't squeeze, you don't tighten. All right. And then now, since we know that most of the belly area will wrap inward again, as we continue our ascent, this part of the belly will have to slide back a bit. Inhale. And then from the two big ribs, it broadens externally. So you widen, but you don't push and pull the arms down. And then from the tops of the spine, it hooks in and up. Thus, you're doing the position. But you're not pushing the arm bones down, you're not squeezing the buttocks, and you don't force your chest to open forward. So when you practice these elements, of course, definitely you're reading through them. You don't want to be forcing your body to achieve something which is very external. Follow the breath. The breath will just guide you there. For example, you're flowing like this, from the downward dog, coming forward, actually in all elements, and then down, and then from there, you release, and you just allow the rest of your external structure to follow that inherent action of the breath. Actually, it's lighter. It's more open, it's more organic, and it's more natural. Alright, so that's how the breath